Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com. And today I want to ask you, are you choosing your life? Because the vast majority of people are not. And most people, tragically, don't even realize it. I look at my life and throughout the day, I'll examine some things I do to just see, could things have went a little bit differently? If I did this thing this way, would it have got a better result? Maybe. Not that the result I got was bad, but could it have been even better? Is there some error in my thinking or my plan that did not work out the way it should have because it could have been even more exceptional? And this is not to micromanage life. You can't live your life every single little thing you're micromanaging because you'll never get anything done. But if you're not making conscious decisions, which most people are not, and this is not some criticism either. This is just a reality that most people are going through life living based on a program that was installed by someone else, not even on purpose, but their parents or guardians or whoever they grew up around. They got all these doctrinal ideas and dogmas and traditions of men and this idea over here and this worldly thought and this fear and this scarcity idea. And all these beliefs morphed into the programming that they are now living. And the tragic part is they are living this without any decision on their own part. They go throughout the day with making no choices. Now you may say, well, but what about if I chose to drink orange juice instead of coffee for the day? Well, that's great, but those little tiny minuscule things probably aren't even really choices, because why would you drink coffee in the first place? I know people who drink coffee and then they'll say, oh, I'm going just drinking juice or whatever. But why were you drinking coffee in the first place? Why did you wake every day and have to go get coffee so you could function throughout the day? Was it because your parents did that and you observed that and you saw that as a way to live? And now you're doing it, not even thinking? And as I said, this is not to criticize. This is to get you to think. This is a thought experiment, get you to think about life. Think about why you're doing the things you're doing, because most people never do. They may have some health scare, a car wreck, somebody dies, something happens that snaps them out of the slumber they're in, the spiritual slumber they're in, the program they're just flowing from and never questioning. And they'll question it a little bit and think about things, maybe try to change a few things here and there, but so often, maybe a few days pass, maybe at best a week, maybe a couple weeks, maybe even a month, but then they go right back and revert to the old programming. The most tragic part of that is the programming that they are living out each and every day that kind of runs their lives and makes decisions for them, even though they think they're making a decision, they're kind of pushed in a certain way, was not programming they decided on. They didn't choose it. It's a compilation of all this stuff they saw throughout life. It could be their parents. Most often it's parents, but there's also things such as just the environment they grew up around. I grew up very poor. So I observed poverty from all different perspectives. I had friends who I thought were rich that I now, looking back on, realize they weren't rich at all. They were middle class at best, but they were so far ahead of me and all the people in my neighborhood that they seemed rich. And I had to go through and get rid of a lot of lack and limitation thinking, because so often it's very subtle. And if you do not challenge the decisions you're making throughout the day, you'll be stuck in a rut. And as I said, the worst part of it is it's a rut in a program that you are running that you did not even choose. But here's the beauty of it. You can choose. You can choose this day to serve the Lord. You can choose this day life. You can choose this day blessing. You don't have to default to whatever somebody in your past taught you how to do, or you thought was a good way of doing it back when you were a kid. And now you're an adult and you're living in that programming that was never good, but you never questioned it. But now you can question it. Now you can say, no, I'm not going to do it that way. Or maybe it is fine, but you can at least examine it and say, is this the proper way to live my life? Is this the thing I'm going to be doing today? From the time you get up, to the actions you take, to the food you put into your body to fuel your body. Why do you do all these things? Ask yourself questions. And as I said, to be very clear again, this is not so you can beat yourself up, because very often people, when they start coming into self-development and improving themselves, they're in a ditch. They see some light. They see they could just climb up a little bit and get on that narrow road. But then they start questioning some things. Why did I do this, or why did I do that? And they start beating themselves up, which is the equivalent of being in that ditch, almost about to get out, but then you start digging a hole and make yourself even deeper in the ditch. It is a subtle, fatal flaw that traps you in mediocrity, and you have no part in that. So don't beat yourself up. This is about acknowledging what's going on, realizing it, and making changes as needed. Now, I've been talking about this kind of life choosing things for you, and most people not even choosing what they want out of life, and the programming that most people have running. And it may make it sound like it's all bad, but it's not. There are good things. You probably were taught generosity. If you grew up poor, you probably were taught generosity, where in a lot of cases, people who grew up a little bit more wealthy weren't. But when you're poor, you had to share. Now, certainly, without a doubt, there are poor people who are super greedy, super evil, super loving of money, and there's no question about that. But from my personal experience, I saw a lot of people who were generous, who were giving. The problem was that they're broke and they're poor and they're giving, but they aren't good receivers. There's always that false humility or pride that stood up in the path and said, no, I can't. Somebody tried to give them something. No, we don't want that. They let their pride get in the way of them being blessed for their giving. If you're watching this video, you have the gift of life. You have the breath of life in you. You have another day ahead of you. You can make whatever choice you want. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you have 1 penny to your name or you have 100 billion to your name. You can choose differently today. You never have to wake up and continue the rut you're in. You never have to wake up and continue down the path you already are down. You can always adjust. You can always improve. You can always make better choices. But it's going to take you examining yourself. Most importantly, first examining yourself to see whether you're in the faith. But then examine the choices and actions you make each and every day. And importantly, the actions you don't make. Say you have a choice, you could take this action, but you don't do it. Why? Now, not every choice you make, even following a program, not even thinking about it, is bad. But you at least need to know the reasoning and rationale for why you're doing things. And is it actually a thought, a conscious thought from you, or are you just doing something from the past? Doing something you saw your father do, or your mother do, or your aunt do, or your childhood influences do. This is vitally important, because otherwise you wake up and you live another day in someone else's image. I want you to live in the image and likeness of God. I want you to do things like God. I want you to do things based on decisions you made, not based on something you saw when you were a kid. You have a choice today. God calls heaven and earth to record this day against you. He has set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. You choose today, my friend. Don't let another day go by when you're just living in a rut, just living based on the old programming that you did not even choose to have installed. Start rewriting some of those apps, so to speak, rewriting some of that code, and start doing things based on a conscious decision for the right reasons, the right method, the right path of righteousness, and choose life and choose blessing, and stop allowing yourself to get dragged into the ditch with everybody else, living the mediocre life, living the average life, living the programmed life where there's no thought going into how you're living your life each and every day. Choose each day to serve the Lord. Choose each day life. choose each day blessing, and watch as your life becomes a great, blessed, abundant life, the life that Jesus came to give you. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.